At 103, Kirk Douglas lists the 7 worst Hollywood celebrities. On December 9, 1916, he was born Isser Danielovich in Amsterdam, New York. Despite his humble beginnings, he rose to become one of Hollywood's most well-known and iconic figures. Douglas was raised in a working-class household where opportunities were limited and life was frequently difficult. His parents were impoverished Belarusian Jews. Despite the challenges of poverty, he grew resilient, ambitious, and strong-willed, qualities that would influence his career and personal life. From an early age, Douglas demonstrated a remarkable work ethic. He excelled academically and took on odd jobs to support his family, which is a fantastic illustration of the perseverance and tenacity that came to define his on-screen personas. Although it wasn't a given, Douglas's desire to become an actor was the first step on his route to fame. He visited St. He attended Lawrence University to study acting and hone his craft before honorably serving in the U.S. Navy during World War II. In the military, he had a strong sense of responsibility and was courageous. It also significantly affected the depth and intensity of his acting performances. After the war, Douglas honed his acting abilities in theater by participating in several productions that allowed him to delve into the nuances of human emotion and character development. His dedication to his training prepared him for a more than 60-year film career that would bring him fame for his powerful personality, captivating energy, and remarkable range as an actor. Kirk Douglas rose to fame and established himself as Hollywood's quintessential lead actor in the late 1940s and early 1950s. Champion, 1949, for which he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor, was his big break. The part demonstrated his intensity, charm, and readiness to portray ethically complex characters. Douglas made unforgettable performances in films such as Ace in the Hole, 1951, The Bad and the Beautiful, 1952, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1954, and Stanley Kubrick's epic Spartacus, 1960. He contributed much to combat the Hollywood blacklist by giving credit to the prohibited screenwriter Dalton Trumbo, in addition to playing the valiant gladiator who led a slave revolt in Spartacus. This demonstrated his dedication to fairness and improving the sector. Because he could portray both fierce and tender characters, Douglas was a multi-talented performer who appealed to audiences of all ages. In addition to being a well-known actor, Kirk Douglas was also a director, producer, and writer. He possessed a special blend of talent, drive, and entrepreneurship. He had creative control over several of his films because he was a founding member of Brinna Productions. Additionally, he demonstrated that he was equally adept at handling Hollywood's financial side as he was on film. His publications, such as Kirk N. Letters of Love, Laughter, and A Lifetime in Hollywood, 2020, and The Ragman's Son, 1988, provided readers with an intimate glimpse into his life, thoughts, and the philosophy that guided him through both joy and sorrow. Douglas maintained a high level of intellectual activity far into his later years. He left a legacy that extended well beyond the films by continuing to write, talk, and engage with fans worldwide. Kirk Douglas's personal life, particularly his marriages, demonstrates how difficult relationships can be and how he has evolved as a person over time. Diana Dill, a stunning and talented actress and model from Bermuda, was his first wife. When they first met in the early 1940s, Douglas was still a young actor attempting to establish himself in the fiercely competitive Hollywood industry. Their 1943 marriage served as a metaphor for the aspirations of many young couples seeking security and love during the Second World War. Diana Dill, who was from a prominent Bermudan family, gave their partnership a dash of sophistication and class, which complemented Douglas's intense ambition and unbridled enthusiasm. They experienced the highs and lows of being newlyweds while they were together. Douglas had to put in a lot of overtime and travel frequently because his job was just getting started. People were watching him all the time. They gave birth to 2 boys, Joel and Michael. Both went on to become well-known figures in the entertainment and artistic industries. Douglas's rising celebrity and the challenges of juggling his personal and professional lives ultimately brought an end to their marriage, despite the fact that they were in love and had a family together. After 8 years of dating, the couple divorced in 1951. Although it was a difficult decision, it allowed each person to develop personally and pursue their own goals in life. After his first marriage ended, he fell in love again with Anne Bidens, a film director and philanthropist of European descent. They would spend their entire lives together. Shortly after his divorce with Diana Dill, they were married in 1954. It was the beginning of one of Hollywood's most enduring and cherished marriages. Douglas's extraordinary personality complemented the refinement, intelligence, and cultural understanding that the German-born Anne Bidens brought. Respect for one another, common beliefs, and a strong commitment to social and familial issues served as the foundation for their partnership. In a field where relationships terminate swiftly and issues arise frequently, their marriage lasted more than 60 years, which is an incredible accomplishment. Anne was more than just Douglas's wife when they were together. In addition to being his confidant and collaborator, she helped him navigate the highs and lows of his career while making her own imprint in humanitarian and charitable endeavors. The pair was renowned for their generosity and kindness. They worked hard for issues like children's health and international aid operations, and they organized charity events. Their partnership was founded on intense affection and commitment, demonstrating that a personal connection and a shared objective could create a lasting bond even between two renowned and wealthy people. Hollywood star Kirk Douglas, who has a career spanning decades of successful films, revealed the truth about the 7 worst actors he had ever encountered in his life at the remarkable age of 103. When discussing the negative aspects of the film industry, Douglas didn't hold back. He was renowned for his witty remarks, exuberant demeanor, and straightforward opinions. Laughing, he remarked, "Hollywood has always had its saints and its sinners. But these 7, they were something else fully." Each character he discussed had a unique backstory that not only revealed Douglas's personal life but also provided a unique glimpse beyond the glitzy surface of Hollywood. Marlon Brando, the well-known method actor, was Douglas's first pick. Although Brando was an excellent actor, his actions on set could be dangerous and explosive. Marlon was so smart that he could light up a room, Douglas remarked. But he was also so selfish that he often caused chaos. He didn't hesitate to harm anybody who stood in his way since he believed that everything should revolve around him. Douglas described instances on movie sets where Brando's erratic behavior and short fuse led to tensions and delays amongst the cast and crew. This demonstrated Brando's complexity as a person and an artist. Douglas then discussed the action actor Errol Flynn, whose off-screen exploits were frequently every bit as thrilling as his on-screen ones. According to Douglas, Errol was charming, fearless, and a total threat to anyone who didn't go along with his plans. He discussed how it was difficult to deal with Flynn and how his reckless actions and passion for scandal caused programs to get into a lot of difficulty. Douglas concurred, though, that Flynn had a clear charisma that made him difficult to avoid. This demonstrated the contradiction of his malevolent disposition: he was both reckless and alluring. Douglas also pursued Elizabeth Taylor, whose extraordinary talent and attractive appearance were frequently eclipsed by her turbulent private life. Douglas stated, "Elizabeth could be cruel in ways that were almost surgical. She used her fame as a weapon, controlling people and situations to get what she wanted." He reflected on Taylor's frequent involvement in tremendous drama and conflicts, both on and off set. He described her as a natural force whose intensity occasionally descended into wickedness. Douglas's remarks for John Wayne contained a hint of irony. The Duke seemed like a man of principle who was bigger than life. However, he was stubborn and set in his ways, which could make him, well, rude, added Douglas. Although he acknowledged that Wayne was a well-known American movie star, he also claimed that his obstinacy occasionally led to issues with co-workers and up-and-coming Hollywood stars. Richard Burton was also included by Douglas. Although Burton was an excellent actress, his mood swings frequently overshadowed his abilities. According to Stephen Douglas, Richard was truly brilliant. But he had erratic moods and could attack anyone without warning. Doug discussed Burton's notoriously heavy drinking and dramatic outbursts to highlight how his brilliance came at a great emotional and professional cost, leaving a trail of tension on every set he worked on. He didn't spare her since Hollywood people knew that Vivien Leigh was acting strangely and dealing with personal issues. With a quiet voice, Douglas remarked, "Vivian had demons. She had amazing skills, but she could be cruel and deceptive when her insecurities got the best of her. She was a depressed individual, and some of her actions caused pain to those who loved her." By acknowledging that people are more complex than their public identities, Douglas was able to perceive both the positive and negative aspects of his friends. Finally, but just as importantly, Douglas selected Bette Davis, an actor who is renowned for her unrelenting will to succeed. Douglas replied, "Bet was a powerhouse, and she didn't put up with fools. Her drive to succeed sometimes turned cruel. If she felt it was essential to defend her position in the company or her work, she could be cruel, frightening, and even evil." Douglas described Davis's well-known altercations and exacting standards, presenting an image of an actress whose passion for her work occasionally manifested as cruelty towards others. Kirk Douglas suffered a life-altering stroke on January 28, 1996, at the age of 79. Both his private life and his public persona were significantly impacted by this incident. His inability to speak due to the stroke made it difficult for him to interact with other people. For a man whose entire career was based on his powerful voice, commanding presence, and expressive articulation, this was frightening and infuriating. When the doctors informed his wife and Bidens that he might not be able to talk again if things didn't improve rapidly and drastically, it was devastating news. The prognosis was poor because strokes frequently result in irreversible brain damage, particularly in elderly patients, making recovery unlikely. Douglas displayed the same fortitude and perseverance that had made his acting career well known despite these issues. He dedicated himself to a rigorous daily speech-language therapy regimen, which required a great deal of perseverance, concentration, and effort. This therapy involved repeated exercises that helped patients regain control over their muscles, retrain their brains to communicate more effectively, and talk again over the course of several months. Slowly but surely, Doug began to regain his voice. He was able to communicate with his family, doctors, and friends. Even though his speech was never quite the same as it was prior to the stroke, it was still restricted and occasionally difficult to understand. Even though it took a long time and a lot of effort, his recovery became a tale of perseverance in the face of adversity. Douglas was able to accept a Special Academy Award at a major Hollywood event in March 1996, despite having suffered a stroke just 2 months prior. He stepped on stage and thanked the audience despite having just experienced a horrible incident. Everyone in the room was struck by his combination of confidence and vulnerability when he talked. Many viewed this as a triumph for his robust attitude as much as his health. It demonstrated his resolve to remain active in society and to continue expressing gratitude and charm to people around him. Kirk Douglas later wrote about this incredible period of his life in his 2002 memoir, My Stroke of Luck. The book served as a helpful manual for anyone experiencing similar circumstances as well as a personal perspective. Douglas authored the book to help families of stroke victims deal with the psychological and physical issues that arise during such a catastrophe. He emphasized strength, hope, and the importance of having loved ones support by sharing his personal story. He did this to help readers navigate the unknowns of recovery by providing them with both motivation and helpful information. Douglas was exceptionally healthy and lived a long life. He passed away quietly at his Beverly Hills home on February 5, 2020. In the company of his loved ones, he passed away at the advanced age of 103. In the entertainment industry and beyond, he left a legacy that lasted for over 80 years. 2 days later, on February 7, his funeral was held at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery, demonstrating both his fame and his love for his loved ones. It will always be a poignant reminder of how important family was to Douglas because he was laid to rest close to his cherished son Eric.